On the Game Wisdom Discord channel, one of the fans posed a question to me: how does someone start studying the game genre if they would like to eventually start making a game in it? The question seemed simple at first, but as I thought about it, it's really quite hard to answer. Studying game design is not the same as reviewing a game, and really gets at the nature of understanding game design. Video games are a hard product to study critically from the consumer point of view. Outside of early access, you only see the end state of a game, and many people have no idea what it took to get there. Game designs can, and oftentimes will, change over the course of development. It's hard to understand what pitfalls and problems can happen in designing a game if you never see those issues to begin with. Another challenge is that despite video games being a visual medium, watching a game being played and playing it yourself are two vastly different experiences. It is very hard, to the point of being impossible, to understand the design without being the one who plays it. Unfortunately, if we are talking about older video games and retro games, it's becoming harder to find these games legally. And then we have the question posed at the start: how do you study game design? Reviewing a game and analyzing one are two different fields. Reviewing games is about examining if the game is enjoyable, has a fair price, etc. There's less of a long-term look at a title when reviewing, and more focused on this particular moment in time. Studying a design is about understanding what aspects of the game work, what does not work, and looks at things deeper. Good games can have bad design elements, and vice versa for bad games. A great game or great design elements transcends the time it was released, and why titles like Super Mario World are still held in high regard. If you never started a video game before, asking someone to do it immediately would be like dropping them in a foreign country and tell them, learn this language fluently. As with making a video game, there is no set checklist on how to learn game design. But I can give you a few tips I have picked up over the years. The first one is obvious: you need to play a lot of games. For many reviewers and critics, that's where everyone wanting to get into the game industry is going to go. However, it's not just about playing what's popular. You want to look at as many examples of the genre you want to study that you can. Everyone can play Super Mario Bros. If they want to play a platformer. But what about Sonic, Earthworm Jim, The Simpsons, Looney Tunes, Cool Spot, Prehistoric Man, and I could literally keep going for the next few pages listing more of them. Just because a game is great does not mean that there are unique elements to it. And oftentimes the games that do end up being lesser examples may have taken a different risk or take on the genre that ended up not working for them. Again, the only way you will know about what's been done before is to actually play it. Once you start playing the game, the next question is: what should I be looking at? One advantage of studying game design, as opposed to reviewing, is that your focus is going to be more specific. The first 15 to 20 minutes of any game should be heavily examined in terms of the design, the core gameplay loop, and structure of the title. While you do not need to play a game from start to finish, you need to understand the elements that make up the design. If a game does hook you far beyond that span of time, you can keep playing to see if it can sustain that momentum or introduce new elements. If a game does not hook you, then pay attention to why that is. I know some of you are thinking, it's not 20 minutes too short of a time to look at a game. The answer is that period of time is when you will either win or lose fans for your game. As the saying goes, the first level of your game should be the last one designed. If you are not putting your best foot forward with your game, and it does not matter how great it gets later on, if no one is playing. I cannot stress enough about looking at the OA of a title, as this has always been a reason of mine. Staying with giving up on a game, as we just talked about, UI design is something that you can only truly experience by playing the game. If there are problems with the UI, you will find them within that 15 to 20 minute period. Thinking critically about game design is an essential skill to learn if you want to further your understanding of what it means to make video games. There is still so much more we could discuss: PR practices, marketing, playtesting, etc. But that will have to wait for another day. And as a shameless plug, if you want to find some games worth studying for their design, be sure to check out my first book out now, as one last bit of 2018 craziness. The hit Netflix series, Black Mirror, unveiled a very ambitious episode called Bandersnatch, which was designed as a literal choose-your-own adventure tale, turned into a show. In return, I get to talk about a TV show side of a book, video game, all in one here. While the show does definitely capture the feeling of a game, how far does it go with this concept, and what game design lessons are there? The following post will be containing spoilers for the episode's plot and general format. Please do not read on unless you have gone through it already. Bandersnatch follows a programmer in the 80s, as by the name of Stefan, who has grown up with depression and anxiety over the loss of his mother. He is working on an adventure game based on a novel called Bandersnatch, and is going to work with the Premier Game Studio to get it done with over the summer. Within a few minutes, the episode's twist becomes clear, as we have to decide what cereal Stefan eats in the morning. From there, choices pop up every few minutes that led to different outcomes for Stefan. Each time a choice comes up, the audience is forced to choose. No choice is not an option here. The first major crossroad in the episode is to decide whether or not Stefan works directly with the studio on his dream game, or to work alone over the summer. If you choose to join the team, the storyline ends and the viewer is given their first redo. From there, we are introduced to the core group of characters that occupy Stefan's life. There is his father, who he lives with, his therapist, who he will see regularly throughout the episode, the head programmer designer of the company, and the owner of said company who wants the game done as soon as possible. The other major tidbit we'll learn is that the author of the book went insane and killed his wife, thinking that he was being controlled by outside forces. As the episode goes on, we continue to make incidental choices for Stefan, such as what occurred here by at the start. But then things start to branch out. Stefan continues to become more stressed out with working on the game, and as the audience, we are able to decide how he reacts to certain events. There are several dead ends written into the episode, such as having him destroy his computer instead of yelling at his dad. As Stefan continues to feel helpless, he begins to realize that someone is controlling him, and one of the funniest endings involves indirectly explaining to Stefan what Netflix is. Well, this is the funny ending. The rest are darker. Depending on your choices, Stefan could commit suicide, murder his father, or learn some disturbing truths about his life. That last point takes us to the deeper part of this episode, from a design standpoint. For viewers who pay attention, there are certain events that once viewed permanently change your options and what you see going forward. Stefan will remark already doing something and the scene will move faster as a result. For one example, several of the show's endings require the audience to watch and interact with other events to then go back and alter things. Astute watchers can see endings where Stefan discovers a grand conspiracy surrounding his life, goes back in time, and more. Each time you do reach an end, the show will let you go back to a previous point. But the show picks what the real wound points are, not the viewer. The show's major philosophical question is about the concept of choice. Are we really masters of our own fate? Or is there some unseen guide that pushes us? Are we able to do anything we want? Are we just acting out roles given to us? In one of the endings, Stefan finished the game by going with the concept of not giving the player free will in the game, but giving them the illusion of choice. This is perhaps the most interesting concept that the show, and by extension, game designers face. When it comes to game design, this is a topic that I am well versed in, as I have talked about the illusion of choice on a number of occasions. Benders not hits home at what choice means in video games and the failure of modern adventure games that try to convince the player that they are in control.